Hello there. My name is P2 Kuru, and I am the former commissioner, and current overseer of the Roblox International Golf Tour. And we are back, or I should say, I'm back. It's been a long time, I gotta say. I've had a lot of stuff going on personally in my life, so I haven't been able to attend to the tour as much as I've wanted to, but for the Masters, exceptions can be made because I'm back with the tournament preview series. And as you can see, we've kind of upped our budget this time for the Masters because everything's got to be better for it. So, if you'll come along with me, I just want to talk you through the same kind of key points I usually go over in all the other ones. And hopefully, we can all have a good time and you can gain some insight and potentially just see my view on how I see things here. But first of all, make sure to like and subscribe. Shameless plug right there. And also join the tour if you haven't. It's very fun. I don't run it anymore mainly, but I still do oversee it when times come. But I hope you'll come along with me, and we're going to add a new feature in this time for the course preview, which is actually some live views of the course. So let's go. Alright, little course overview of Augusta National. It is a par 72, which means it just has four par 5s, pretty standard for any given course. Nothing too special. Two out of those four par 5s are reachable, which is a big key point, and both of them coming on the front nine, so I do believe that this front nine is going to be more of a scoreable opportunity compared to the back because you have a lot more risk on the back with water hazards. You have risk reward holes like 13, 12, you have 15 as well. So a lot of these holes can be very decisive on how your round is going to play out on the back nine. So really taking advantage of those par fives on the front, which can both be hit on the green and two, is going to be key. So you can make those low scores heading into the back where things can get a little bit dicey. And as some people know, there are sloped greens on this course because this is the third rendition of Augusta National that I have done myself, and this is by far my best work of any course because it was a one-to-one replica of the actual in real life course using a Google Maps satellite image. So this is about as close to an actual course as you're going to get, and I do believe that this has helped it become one of the most challenging and fun to play courses because I've made some tweaks to the course where on hole 6, which is that par 3 that's supposedly down the hill, where that bunker in front of the green is hugging the green, but since it's RIGT, we don't have backspin and our balls tend to roll out a lot longer, so I did move that bunker a little short. So just changes like that to the course that make it more playable, more fair, and still give it like, the pristine, like I don't know how to describe it, but the feel of actually playing at Augusta, it just makes it one of the best experiences, and it's the reason why it's the number one course in RIGT per the rankings. And continuing back on those greens, they do have the smallest average green size on tour, which is devastating for some of them, as you can see why. And piggybacking off of that, they also have some of the most unique and challenging contours of any course, with holes examples of 3, 5, and 14. And actually, I'm going to go show you guys those right now. So let's come along. So here we are on hole 3 at Augusta National here. As you can see over here, we're going to have the second green, which is that reachable par 5. And then let's just go along here. So this is a short par 4 that is reachable almost in one. As you can see, you have this bunker complex here in this fairway, which gives you kind of a decision. You can split it left or kind of take more of a direct line right. But that bunker does bisect the fairway, and you can get some interesting angles if you take the left path. But coming onto this green surface, which is kind of the highlight and the challenge of the hole itself, it is super unique. As you can see by the shape of it, just by itself, it's almost like a little fidget spinner. And in case you can't see, which some of you can't, because it's very difficult to see, there is a lower tier where this pin is right here, and an upper tier right here. So this is a two-tiered green, but the thing that makes it so unique is that this right here, I can't remember where it is, but there's a slight runoff on the very edge over there, and this shape just kind of feeds all of this down to this very narrow point. So your distance control is going to have to be spot on. And then if you do hit it onto this narrow strip of flat land right here on this green, you're going to have your line spot on with a little more forgiving on distance control. And since you're driving the ball almost up to like right in this area, you can almost putt it up this surface, but still the distance control on this approach of this short par 4 is so key. And this is what makes it one of the most surprisingly challenging holes, is because its green surface is so unique for how short of a hole it is. So let's go on to the next hole with a unique green, which is hole 5. So here we are on hole 5. As you can see, we have a little forest over here covering the fourth hole, though. That's the par 3 after the hole I just showed y'all. But let's come along on this difficult par 4. As you can see, this is one of the widest fairways on the entire course, but there are two very deep fairway bunkers that prevent much of a steep corner cut. If you get in these bunkers, good luck, you're at least making a 5. So, as you can see, if you manage to guide your ball into the fairway and make it over here, you will come across this green, which almost looks like a little crescent with the shape of it right here, because I will try and break this down as best as I can for you. If you can't see it, there is a flat high spot right along this ridge right here that runs straight across here and back to this corner, which kind of, divides the green into two. There's this false front, which you literally cannot stop a ball on, except for maybe one try out of 10. But you're going to have 3 pin locations in this small of an area, because this green is so unique to where the only suitable pin locations are going to be in this back left corner. And what makes it so challenging is that it's all a downslope here going towards the pin. So if you're hitting like a 5 iron or a 4 iron into this hole, it's going to be really hard to get a ball to stop on this flat surface, which makes birdies by a putt so hard to come by on this hole. And it just makes it one of the most unique greens and a challenging hole in general, because this green shape here is just, you don't see this anywhere else in the entirety of RIGT, because this green shape is inspired by the actual hole itself in real life, as are all the greens here, except for 12 because it's entirely flat. But still, I mean, this green shape here is so unique and challenging because, I mean, it's just so hard to stop a ball here, because the downslope here, how far of an approach shot you have, and if you leave it short, you're going to be hitting back into a false front, which going up a hill and then back down one is going to be pretty hard to control the distance, but it's not too bad of an up and down. But still, the shape of these greens, the contours on them, it is just remarkable, some of the green shapes and sizes here, and it's the part that makes this course so difficult. So that being said, we're going to move on to the last and final example of unique green contours and shapes, which is hole 14. So here we are on hole 14. As you can see, the beautiful hole labeled Magnolia on our right that is finishing off the Amen corner, that challenging but short par 5. And then we have our historic round board, which Grand Slammer won. We have paid homage to his round where he started with a 4 consecutive eagles. That was a sight to behold, but he did not end up winning that tournament, which is a shame. But back to here, hole 14, one of the most straightforward and simple holes on the course, except for the green, of course, because it is a straightforward hole with no bunkers, and it is a par 4, which makes it one of the most mid-ranked holes on this entire course, because the hole itself by design is so easy, but this green is an absolute menace. Very similar to hole 5 in shape. You're going to have a flat section of this green that bisects it and then runs off to a back corner, where you can place a pin here, which I believe is going to be one of the days, which is the highest surface. And then you have a downslope running this way that goes towards this middle tier here, and then you have another downslope that goes to this tier right here, which is the lowest part of the green, being in the back right, which is so unique because you have this midsection here that runs this direction that will feed the ball towards the back of the green because it's higher than the rest of the green. And as you can see, it's very extreme if we get down low to this back right part, because it can almost just fling the ball off the back right and give you a somewhat challenging up and down. And just like hole 5 as well, you're going to have a massive false front where a pin is not even going to be have a chance at being located because it's just you can't stop a ball there. But every single one of these pin locations is going to be tossed in the back here between these three tiers. And this is just such a unique green shape because, I mean, the contours just make it how it is. You're going to have three tiers that only take up half the green, and all of them are going to be like descending in size based on height because the tallest one's the biggest, middle one's the middle, and then the smallest one is the smallest section that you can put a pin on justifiably. But still, the part of the screen that you have to somewhat like realize or take advantage of, if you have a if you have a shot for up and down that's going in this direction, it's going to be so easy because you're hitting back into the slope, or this direction because you can lob wedge or long putt it and it's just going to fall straight down those slopes. And really a part of Augusta National that the winners and the good players know to take advantage of are the slopes. You're going to have to play to them. So for example, if this entire green is running left to right, you're going to have to miss left if you want to successfully play the hole, or right. So you can hit straight into the slopes, because if you're missing short left here, you're going to have to hit a shot where you're going over this front ridge right here, and then it's going to break right. You have so many different variables, but the good players know where to miss, they know how to miss, and they know how to play when they miss, because some misses are sometimes better than just going straight at the pin, and this green is a perfect example of that because of how uniquely shaped it is. But anyways, that's enough for our actual hole previews, and we're going to get back to the slideshow. So here we are back at the slideshow, and our next key topic is going to be the key holes, which some of them I have already mentioned to you, but the first key hole is going to be hole 2, which is the reachable par 5 that is that dog leg left, and White Dogwood, I believe, is the name of the hole. But it is a very reachable, somewhat straightforward par 5, but the green complex is just so unique to that back right pin location you can funnel your second shot into. If it's in the back left, you just can't. And, a reachable par 5 is always going to be a key hole because it's really going to decide whether if you bomb the hole or you birdie it, you have equally as much a chance as both, but the risk reward factor is such a big part of this course. And that also being said for hole 3, which I already showed you, you can bomb your driver up there, get closer to the green, but then you have more of an awkward shot. It's just how much do you want to risk taking a longer club versus playing it safe, playing it to the safe spots, playing to the middle of the green. All of this is just such a big factor because of how small and sloped the greens are. And then another example of this is, of course, hole 7, the straightaway par 4 that is Juniper, I believe. I don't know, I'm not refreshed on my names, but it is a very straightforward par 4, but the green complex being surrounded entirely by bunkers makes it one of the most difficult approach shots in the game of RIGT, because if you miss, you're going to have a nightmare of ping pong going back and forth across and over the green with your lob wedge trying to get it to stick. But this green is so narrow and small that makes it near impossible to do that, and it's just a very difficult aspect of this hole, which is why it is a key hole, because you're going to see players bomb it. And I do believe that last year it played as a top 3 hardest hole on the course. So being able to play this hole well is crucial because, like I said, with hole 14, you're going to have to miss in order to play the hole well sometimes. And then another hole that I mentioned earlier, hole 8, that reachable par 5 with the mounds around the green. I did not say that, but still, it is a very reachable par 5 that is going to be important because it's just short. You're going to have to score well on it. I believe it was a top 3 easiest hole last year because of how relatively simple it is, but still, that doesn't mean you can't bomb it. You're going to have to play smart around the green because every single short game shot on this course is going to make or break your round. And then, of course, you can't talk about Augusta National without mentioning the Amen Corner. This stretch of 3 holes is some of the most just bending and challenging and unique golf that you're going to ever play, real life or virtually. I mean, 11 being that long par 4 with water on that left, water long of it, that dual tiered green. It's just incredibly tough to do anything on that hole. But you will see your occasional eagle, your somewhat uncommon birdie, and then hole 12, of course. Golden Bell straight across the river and over the bunkers. It is the only flat green on the course, which sometimes you're going to have to take advantage of because of how short of a hole it is, but still that does not make it any easier because of how spot on your distance control has to be. About as middle of the pack as difficulty goes for a hole 12 is still one of the most iconic and scenic holes in the game of golf, and stays nonetheless in RIGT. And then, of course, one of the holes I showed you earlier, hole 13, that bending par 5 around the river, Rays Creek tributary, going around the corner, through the pines, and over the river again to the green. This hole is another make or break, like Rory McIlroy showed you in last year's Masters in real life. You can either bomb the hole or you can either bomb it or birdie it. That's the saying. I mean, double bogey, triple bogey, definitely on the cards because of the creek and how challenging this green surface can be with certain pin locations. But going for this green in two is a feat that can be done, but is not done rarely at all. So I did only put two out of the four reachable. But this is a very fun hole to play. Can be easy if you know how to play it, but you just have to be smart, as is for every hole. And then, of course, the second par 5 on the back hole 15, fire firewood fire something. I can't remember, but still an important par 5 that you can get greenside into if you play to the right. But still, this hole is going to be very difficult because of how thin this green is. The only place you're going to be able to miss is left or right. If you miss long, good luck, because you're going to be hitting straight into the water if you miss long. Again, after missing long initially, but still, this hole is so important because, yet again, it's a par 5. All the par 5s here at Augusta National are important holes that you need to score well on because they're all short. They all can be played well just as easily as they can be bombed. And then another course overview. It's not really so much of the course, but the top 20 players in the world are going to be playing it. So, you might not get as many outlier scores that are going to make this course seem so difficult, but still, it is a somewhat important aspect that I wanted to mention. There are going to be no cuts, so we are not going to have half the field going home after Saturday. So this should be a very unique, one of its kind tournament of the year that I am excited to watch, even as a some what some people would call a casual now because I don't enjoy the game as much. But anyways, on to our next slide. As always, our second slide is the golfer's overview, and it's not going to be a preview video without the obvious pick being Benji Mako. Recently inducted to the first ballot Hall of Fame, coming off a win. He's a good player on slopes. He won here last year. This guy's just a machine, and he knows how to win, as evidenced by his accolades, but still, this guy is just, he wins. It's hard to say. Benji Mako versus the field is a legitimate question on every single tournament, and him having a history of winning here, I believe, is going to propel him to win again. But I would love to see a unique winner because I always do. I love seeing depth. A new winner, it just makes me happy because, I think the league needs to be more depth because of people, more deep because of people like Benji that just dominate every single tournament. Definition of a tier 1 player, which I'm going to get to later, but still, obvious pick for a reason. And then, as always, I have my two underdog picks. The first one is going to be Super Doge Boy. He finished second place here last year in the second to final pairing, posting a good round after Grand Slammers blow up, but still a good history on this course. Coming off of fourth place, I believe there is a shot he could be in contention, and I would love, we would love to see Super Doge Boy win in the Big 26. This guy is just, he's been second place and third place so many countless times. It's just hard to watch. If he gets a win, I believe there won't be a single person in the world who isn't happy. I mean, this guy deserves a win more than any. He's played so well, so many times. He's placed second place at this tournament 2 years in a row. Potentially, this is the year he gets it done. I don't think so because of Benji Mako, but if he plays well and plays like he has on this course, I believe he has a chance. And then my other underdog pick is going to be Fearless. He is coming off a terrible finish at the Everest tune-up, but he's going to look to rebound because he is a good player on sloped greens. I believe he did finish well at the RG Open where there were sloped greens last year. So this guy, he's a somewhat inconsistent player, but when he plays well, he plays well. I do believe he has a top 5 in his cards here at Augusta. And then some more players to watch. Well, one of the first one's going to be KJ1D. He is an emerging talent that is currently, I would say, a tier 2 player, borderlining tier 1, not quite there yet, but he placed second at the first tournament, sixth at the second one, I believe. Might have swapped those around, but still, KJ is a great player that has immense potential to do well. I do believe he will finish top 3 here, just based on the power rankings. And I believe that he's going to be a good player to watch because if he's in contention, he could definitely win it. He has that poise. He knows the game of RIGT. He's a veteran. He's been around, and I do believe I don't know if he's won yet. So he will be looking for that breakthrough win, and there would be no place to break through like Augusta. Another player to watch here is going to be Alex Toontown too. He is the definition of a top 10 player every single tournament. He's finishing 10th, 9th, 8th, 11th, anywhere around that range. I just need to see a tournament where he breaks through and finishes top 5 or something like that. That would be great for his confidence because he is quite the mentally fragile player who can kind of get shattered based on a bad finish. But I think a good finish would do him wonders for his confidence and be able to go on to the next tournament and maybe start a run of his own. You never know because all it takes is one good finish to really propel you into the spotlight, as we saw like Astrojet, BH Dart, all these great players who win one big tournament and then just are up there in contention every day. So I do believe Alex, if he breaks through, he has that potential. Another player to talk about is going to be Darkar, veteran player, Hall of Fame player. He is just the definition of unk. He's old. He's got all the finishes under his belt, finished top 5 countless times. I think he's coming off a tied 4th at the last tournament, which is a pretty good finish for him. Solid. I think around the 3rd to 5th range is about his average, but I'm interested to see how he plays because every single tournament he's about as consistent as they come, finishing in that 3rd to 7th range. And I really just think that a breakthrough for him would be great because it's really late in his career. He's played a lot. I do believe he has maybe one more win in him at a minor tournament this year. I don't think he's going to break through at Augusta, but still, I do think his potential, his ceiling is top 3. And then another player to watch is going to be Kibley. He is a very streaky player. Did not play in the first tournament, but he did finish top 3 in his last tournament, I believe at least. Either that or 4th. But still, Kibley is a very good player. Definitely one to watch here at Augusta. Has a good history on sloped greens, and I do believe he has the potential to finish top 3. Moving on to our key questions, as always, the last slide. And our first question here is going to be, is this the closest RIGT competition has ever been? And I do believe that this is. I believe that question is a rhetorical question with the answer being a yes or a non-rhetorical question. Well, I don't know what I'm saying, but still, it has an answer. It's a question with an answer. But evidence of this being 9 players within a 7-shot range at the Everest tune-up from 3rd to tied 10th. 9 players in a 7-shot range. That is ridiculous. I mean, we're usually used to players from like 3rd to 10th ranging like 10 shots, 15, like 15 shots normally. I mean, the leaderboard is so top heavy normally. And that they are still currently, but still not as top heavy anymore. 7-shot range from 3rd to 10th, 30 under to 37 under. And of course, BH Dart and Benji probably ahead of the field, but still, I mean, I believe that in this 3rd to 10th range, it's just a toss up for anybody. One shot is going to cost you maybe a couple spots because of all the ties. I mean, seriously, every shot is going to count for the middle of the field here. And I do believe if players want to finish up 3rd, they cannot make silly mistakes. If they want to break through to 2nd, 3rd, 4th, that top of the range there, they're going to have to play their absolute best. They can't make any silly mistakes. They have to focus, use good strategy. I mean, competition's getting fierce because as time goes on, we're going to have more and more players who are all going to improve. And I think the skill ceiling of RIGT is going to flatten out. And right now, these players are still, they're right in that mid range. And, they've got potential to do better. But I think this range is just kind of just the death zone where one shot is going to cost you so much in terms of your finishes. But still, this competition has been fierce and I'm loving it. So the second question here is going to be how will sloped greens for the first time in 2026 mix up the standings? And I believe that it kind of won't because, sloped greens are such a big thing in RIGT. I feel like people, like rightfully so, make a big deal out of it because it is the biggest innovation in RIGT history. It has changed the game entirely in terms of playing because you have so many different courses with slope greens that make it so difficult. The RG Open, Northern Pines, you have Wilmington, which is going to be played later this year. You have Ardmore Manor, which is going to be played later this year for the first time. I mean, you have so many courses with slope greens that just make it so difficult. With flat greens, that's just not possible. But still, I don't think sloped greens is going to change it that much because the players who are good on sloped greens are already really good. The players who are bad on sloped greens are already pretty bad. So still, I mean, you do have the occasional flat green merchant like Astro Jib, but still, I really don't think this is going to mix up the standings much for as big of a deal it is, slip greens, because those mid-skill players are still going to be pretty mid-skill. So slope greens may change it up a little for certain players that are more reliant on flat greens, but I do think there won't be much change in the standings after this tournament, except if there's a really breakthrough player. The next question here is going to be, will we see any drastic comebacks with no cut? As I mentioned earlier, there's no cut line this tournament, so maybe on Sunday there's a player in the middle of the pack that just has a crazy round and manages to spike himself into the top three with a great finish. I'm really excited to see how that ends out because a lot of the times when players don't make the cut, you wonder, oh, what could they have done on the last day in order to like maybe boost up the standings, maybe give themselves a chance to even win. So I really do think that this Sunday is going to be pretty cool because we're going to be able to see, had the players have not made the cut, they would have just stood there. But now, since they don't have to worry about that, they can just play their game, be confident, and maybe shoot up the standings on Sunday with a good finish. So I do think that drastic comebacks, I do think we're going to have one of them. I don't know from who, but somebody on the lower leaderboard is going to put in a good round and get them boosted up the standings to maybe in that fourth to seventh range, maybe even higher, but we'll see. And now, as I've been alluding to, will the Tier 1 players resolidify their spots, and who are the Tier 1 players? Who's Tier 2? So, I just want to preface this is just an idea that I just came up with myself, but I do believe that Tier 1 players are the players that when you think of winning tournaments, they're just the go-tos. Right now, I do think that there are only two Tier 1 players, BH Dart and Benji Mako. They have solidified themselves as the best. They've won multiple times. They've won multiple majors. Dart, I think, hasn't, but still, both are multiple event winners. Both are consistently finishing in the top of the leaderboard. Always have potential to win. That's the biggest part. Because some players will consistently finish third, fourth, but like, Dart will finish seventh and then finish first. The key thing is these players, tier one players, have potential to win any single tournament. I think that is what defines a tier one player. They can win any tournament on any given day. And then, as if they will re-solidify their spots, Dart obviously didn't finish too well at the Everest tune-up. I do believe he comes back here and finishes well because this is his first time playing Augusta National as a Tier 1 player. Last year when he played here, he was not a great player. I don't think he was even in the RIGT at all. So I think he's really excited to get out on this course, being the best course in the world, dominating the field. I do believe that he's going to finish well. I do think it is a minus odd that he finishes top three or top two. I don't think there's a chance that he doesn't. He's going to lock in. First time on the course, he's going to want to do well. He's going to want to win because that's just the type of person he is. And I do think he re-solidifies his spot, and Benji keeps his. I believe they finish 1-2. And then who are the tier 2 players, as I've alluded to? Tier 2 players, I would define as people who consistently finish in the top 7, 6, 5 range, and they have potential to win one tournament every now and then. And these players that I think of that just firstly come to mind would probably be Astrojet and KJ1D as of right now because they are consistently finishing in that top 7, 5, 4 range. And they have potential to win a tournament every once in a while. They'll finish second, third, first, like Astrojet did at the RG Open and with the RIGT Championship a while ago. But he's just not consistent enough to be a Tier 1 player. He doesn't have potential to win every single tournament as it is. And I do believe that Kibley is borderlining a Tier 2 player. Um, Super Doge, I would say, is also borderlining tier two. There's a lot of players that are like on the fringe between tier two and tier three that I might make a whole separate video on that because I have a lot of time recently, but still, tier one and tier two players, tier three players are a pretty big topic to me right now. I've been thinking about it, and it's just defined on where you consistently place and what potential do you have to place. And I believe that tier two players are defined by they can win once in a while, but most of the time you're going to find them in that 7-3, 7-2 range. And I believe that's Astrojet and KJ right now, with potential of Kibley and Super Doge. And if I'm forgetting somebody that's doing better than them both right now, then please forgive me because I'm an unk and I haven't checked the standings. But still, you get my point. And of course, the final key question here: does the field beat BH Dart and Benji Mako? Does one person finish between them two? Does one person do better than them two? I think this is a true 50-50 question. I might be crazy for saying that. I genuinely believe it's a coin toss as to whether BH Dart and Benji Mako finish 1-2 interchangeably or not. Because they are tier 1 players. They're just the best of the best right now. They're probably going to be dueling it out on Sunday as they did at the RIGT Open last year. I mean, these guys are just the definition of the best, and I believe that I I don't think that the field beats them this tournament because they're both so disciplined and experienced at this course. Not Dart, but I believe Dart is more disciplined that they are going to just beat the field because at Augusta you have to be strategic, disciplined, careful, patient. You cannot be aggressive at this course unless you absolutely know you can and you have confidence that you can. And I believe that is going to that's what makes Benji Mako and BH Dart levels above the rest at this course, this tournament, and just in RIGT. And that's going to wrap it up. I want to thank you for watching this tournament. Please ignore the typo on international. Just pretend that's not there. Glad to point that out as soon as I saw it, but still, I hope you really enjoyed because this is probably the one I've put the most effort into because I've had about an hour spare time to myself here after on the weekend here. About a 35-minute video for y'all, so I really hope y'all enjoyed. If you did watch the whole thing, I really appreciate it because like I'm just making this because I love the game. And if you're watching the whole thing, man, props to you. You're a great person. You love the game too. And honestly, I was gonna give you like a giveaway or something, but I don't think the funds would allow for that. We gotta save for payouts, but still, low key, if you watch this whole thing and you're hearing this right now, just ping me in general and just say a random fruit, and then like I'm just gonna appreciate you for life. But anyways, other than that, thank y'all for watching, man. I put my effort into these, as you can tell by the previews, just the insights. I hope you really found it interesting too. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will catch y'all later, man. Peace.